say, well, I'm a safety director for a construction company. And you say, okay, and well, you know, how's safety these days? You know, well, you know, we're having a problem with, we downsized, and you know, our workers aren't really happy. They're having to do more, and we've had some incident safety problems. And so, you know, just in the uncovering of that, you might just say, well, in your instance, for example, what I might do, how I might work with you is we could create a safety incentive program for your employees. They would be rewarded for their safe behaviors, and you might help turn around some morale problems, and we can use promotional products as communication devices to increase safety. So, whatever you're going to do, you want to relate to them on how that would look, how what you do for them, how it would look to them. And Mark uses this SWOT method, which is really excellent. Maybe you want to, you know, share that with the group.
Sure. SWOT's kind of a strategic marketing term. It stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you have that acronym in your head and you're starting a conversation with a customer, especially for someone that you haven't worked with them before, you could say, so tell me about, you know, your company. What are some of the strengths of your sales team? And they're going to start to tell you about those strengths. And you can say, okay, what are some of the weaknesses and things that you think that you could be working on and improving? And again, so what are opportunities out there right now amongst your organization that you'd like to be working on this year, that you haven't tackled yet, but you think that there's an opportunity to be working on? And are there any threats that you're concerned about in your environment that you'd like to, you know, be approaching? And obviously this is conversational tone, kind of rapid firing through it, but you can see about how you can use that, and then you start to branch off, and you start to branch in the concept of saying, well, when you mentioned this particular area, which you said is a weakness. Tell me more about that, and why is it a weakness, and what have you tried to do about that? And you may find out that they've tried nothing, and then you can ask questions like, well, is it a priority for your organization to make that change? And so you're just using that initial one comment of a weakness, and you start to branch off, and next thing you know, you're leading the witness to the point of saying, well, you know, it's interesting that you bring this up. Can I share with you something about that I've worked with some of my other customers on? Oh, sure. Well, what we do is we help them put into these types of programs, and then you can go down that path and explain to them. And so that's the SWOT technique.
Well, keep going with questions. What other kind of prospecting questions do you like to get into? Do you have a top 10 list or some things that you really like to see on the question list when you're training the salespeople to go in and see clients?
Right. So the SWOT questions are really, you know, great for new clients or clients that you haven't talked to in a while that you don't really know about their business. You can always say, hey, you know, I've been selling you promotional products for a long time, and you know, I realized I don't know that much about your business in general. I mean, would you share with me about what you like about this company? And it's amazing how much that actually opens up conversations. By the way, these aren't my questions oftentimes. These are questions that are coming from people like Linda and other distributors around the country that they share back with me and say, these were successful. These are opening up doors or opening up conversations. I shared with you the service award questions earlier. That's a great one to be asking. Again, when you're in with the receptionist or whoever, how did you get recognized for your anniversary? And right now, with the economy the way it is, you know, you could say something like, in this economy, what are you doing to get your people to focus in on the initiatives to drive sales? It's simple as that. What are you doing today to help your people focus in and drive sales? And they may say, well, we're doing this, we're training them, we're provided them some new marketing materials, and all those wonderful things that people do. And those are all great to have, but the question I would ask then is, well, are people using them? How's that working for you? And you might look at to find that performance gap that we mentioned earlier, that the people's performance isn't actually doing it. So what you're going to do is saying, well, have you ever considered running a sales incentive contest? Oh, I don't know. Tell me more about that. So those are some of the questions that I use.
It's back to you hear this word gap a lot. If you leave today, remember that, because it's twofold. It's the gap in the performance area of the company, But by golly, when I call on companies, there's gaps in the company. They just don't communicate with their employees. If you go in and say, so what's important to you this year? And they say, well, sales are important. Okay, well, how much, what percentage, whatever. And what are initiatives here are important to get sales up? Well, we should be doing, if they even know, can they rattle off, we should be doing A, B, and C. Okay, how is that communicated down to the rank and file? Well, it isn't. Gap. Your promotional product salespeople. You can create a message just to close that communications gap intra-company and relatively and make it relative to some employee productivity or employee initiative that they just haven't sit down and taken the time to think about.
Yeah.
So with no products on the table, we're just in that concept sale of getting them to stop, call a timeout, think about what they're doing, and sometimes they miss the obvious.
Right. And there's two parts of any incentive program in terms of the designing of the rewards and communication. There's the give them and the earn them. And the give them are things that you're going to give away to the participants to hype and communicate and promote the program. Those are promotional product items. And if you're designing a program properly, for an annual program, you're going to have 4 promotional periods during that year that you could be selling them promotional products. That's the give them. And the earn them are the points that they may be earning from like a point-based program. Or they may be from a plateau program, it might be just the rewards that they're going to earn at the end of based upon where they qualified at their performance tier. So you can be thinking about it from that angle. And so if you're talking with somebody and they have a program where they're talking about, they're not necessarily calling it the give them, but they're talking about this promotional item that they're using, you can ask them a question and say, well, what are you using that for? How are you using it? And you might just uncover that there's an incentive opportunity that's tied to that.
So what are the objectives that companies have? We have this meeting, now you have an opportunity to sit down. What are the typical objectives that they're trying to achieve with any of these programs?
Well, it's the 80-20 rule, and even what I would encourage you as your own business, and I wrote these down, so forgive me, let me read them, but the great divide comes, as we said, it's usually employees, it's sales, or customers, but let's start with employees and sales. And everybody here runs an organization, so what I would ask you is what you should be asking your clients. In the staples of life on your employee side of your business, what are you doing as a business owner to encourage suggestions from your employees? Any business can do that. What are you doing to ask your employees to refer other good people to come to the company? Any business can do that. What should you be doing, or what should you should be observing that could get employees to stretch for you? Any business owner should do that. And last but not least, what are you doing to encourage your employees to bring leads into your company? They're universal objectives for any business, your business and any client you're calling on. On the sales side, it's probably pretty obvious. People are looking for top-line sales, but that gets broken down into measures for new business, measures for new accounts, measures for growing existing accounts, perhaps introducing new products, moving bad products, and various other things. But it's back to another session we do. We say that you should try to design the program that it's only about 1 to 3 core initiatives or core measures, because people just can't remember more than that in any given day. But if you really zero in on the 1 or 2 that are going to get you the most mileage, and you wrap all these other things around it, that's what makes the program a success.
And we have a distributor out west who put on a referral program for his client base. And he basically said, today's economy, what I'm looking to do is to grow my business, and he wrote this nice letter. You may have even seen the letter. And it's been actually pretty effective. So he gets out there, he's getting referrals from customers, and he's using a reward vehicle that he ultimately, then they receive, and they go, well, that was great. I really like that. Could you do that for us? So what was once an incentive for the client is now turning back into an opportunity. So when Brant said the word referral, you could be running your own referral programs to your customers to let them know, hey, you kind of take your own medicine.
I'm just curious. Show